I've been trying to fix my sleep schedule so I'm a little more energetic to work. I realize we're getting almost to the end of the month and there's been no video. I can't guarantee you that I am working on it every day. It's just, I don't know. I took like the first kind of week off to give myself a bit of a break for the month. So it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's been taking me like 3 months to put this out. This is what I was scared about with going on the monthly billing schedule, because I'm like, oh no, if I don't have the pressure to make a video, am I just going to do nothing? Because let me tell you, I love doing nothing. I love it. Because I always find some way. Thing is I don't get bored. I don't get bored. I always find something to occupy myself with. Let me tell you what I occupied myself with the other day. So I was gonna start working on something or writing something, and then I realized, I was like, okay. So I had this problem since I had to switch to a new phone, where thankfully all my stuff was backed up in Google Photos from my old phone that died before I could get a new one and transfer stuff. All my stuff was backed up in Google Photos. Okay, so there's a few issues with this. Number one is that it backs up pretty much everything that's on your phone for like more than a day, including stuff that like I downloaded to just like send to a friend or something, and then deleted like the next day or something, or like when I forgot about it. Which means that there's just a bunch of like junk that I really don't care about having backed up in there, that I have to like sort through and like delete this. I don't need that. I don't need that. Just taking up space essentially. The other thing is I would like that stuff on my phone. Now my phone, because it is an Android, has a Google Photos app. However, I don't like the way that it's laid out. I don't like the Google Photos layout. I don't like how it separates everything and makes it really hard to just skim through stuff. I don't like it. So, I thought, alright then, let me download let me just download all the Google Photos stuff from the cloud into my actual phone's, well, it's not a hard drive, but the actual phone's storage. Well, Google doesn't like you doing this. Because you can do it, you can download an image, right? You can just download an image from Google Photos, but you can't do it in bulk. Why? I don't know. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to just download images in bulk, but you can't. So what are the solutions to this? Well, there's a thing called, you can move stuff to like the drive, I think, but like, Jesus, it's so cumbersome. Essentially what you can do, what the easiest thing to do is there's this thing called Google Takeout, which will basically, you can select which things of your Google Cloud save by category. So in this case, just the photos. And then they'll basically create a little a zip file, or multiple zip files, depending on how much you're taking out. And export that, and then you can download it. They'll send you like an email with a download link. So I did that. I get my photos. I download them. Uh-oh. They are all of these photos. The metadata's fucked up. So there's basically, it's weird because like photos that were taken with the phone's camera, my last phone's camera, have proper metadata and show up with approximately like the order you would expect. However, in between all of those is a bunch of just random nonsense that is not organized. And because I'm the type of person who, like, I port all of my photos and stuff forward across every device. I literally have photos from like 10 years ago when I'm like a little kid that I still have that I would like to keep. And the porting process screws up a lot of the metadata on there. So everything is just jumbled around in completely random order. And, there's stuff from like 2018 that's at the top of the photo reel, essentially, the camera roll in my phone. So I'm like, God damn it. So What's the issue here? Is it just lost? Do I just have to put up with this or something? No. No, you don't. So here's what happens when you do Google Takeout. They do have the metadata. In the metadata does exist. If I go to Google Photos, everything's in the right order. However, when you do Google Takeout, for some reason I don't know, they separate the metadata on things that were not captured from the camera, because I think that's stored differently. They separate it into a .json file. So you have all of these separate, you have the image and then the image like .png, .json. All of that stuff is separated and the metadata is kept in the JSON file. So, how do we get the JSON file into the original photo? How do we get the metadata in the photo? Okay, so there is a piece of software that will do this for you. I want to turn my mic down a little bit. I feel like I'm peaking a little much. There is some software that will do this for you, but it costs money. And I'll be damned if my money, or more accurately, my patron's money, goes to solving a problem this dumb. So I have to look elsewhere. And I find a guy on GitHub who had this exact same problem and wrote a script which will automatically take the file name of the photo and the file name of the JSON file, and it will combine them into the original photo. I'm like, great, cool. How do I use this? Well, this was just a thing that this dude wrote up because he had the exact same problem as I did. And he never really had any intentions of making, turning this into a real thing. He basically just uploaded it to GitHub because, oh, hey, maybe someone else could get some use out of this. I don't really have any interest, because this is a dumb problem that doesn't have to exist. I don't really have any interest in, doing too much with this stuff. He just kind of wanted to, get it done, move on. It's just basically just a personal project he threw up for, hey, if maybe someone else has the similar problem, you could use this. So this isn't like a program or anything. This isn't like a thing with an interface or anything like that. No, this is literally just a script that you have to run on your computer. And so this is when I had to install and figure out Yarn. Now, for people who do programming and coding and stuff who are listening to this, you might be like, oh, for those who don't know what Yarn is let me make sure I actually know what the heck I'm talking about. Yarn Pro, it's really easy to just get stuff for crocheting. So Yarn is a package manager that doubles down as a project manager. So, from what I can tell, I needed Yarn to do my... Okay, let's look up the Wikipedia thing. All I knew is that I needed it to make this thing work. Yarn is a software packaging system developed in 2016 by Facebook for the Node.js JavaScript runtime environment, an alternative to the NPM package manager. Yarn, solve consistency, security, and performance problems with large code bases. So, basically, from what I can tell, it's a thing that makes other things work. Namely, multiple different code projects that might be written by different people. It I don't know, it does some equalize. Some programmer guy in the comments is gonna on this podcast is gonna define it in better terms. Basically, I need a thing to make the thing work. So I had to install Yarn, and I had to do all this stuff through Windows PowerShell, which I've never really used before. I've done a little bit of command lining stuff, and I've done some decent digging into the guts on my computer, but I've never had to do with registry editing. I've never had to do PowerShell shit. So I had to do PowerShell shit. What is the difference between command line and PowerShell? Command line versus PowerShell. Command is primarily used to execute batch commands, do some primary troubleshooting. Whereas PowerShell can be used for executing batch commands as well as administrative purposes. Okay. Is it just big boy command line? You don't need to tell me when they were developed. educba.com, the website I'm reading off of. PowerShell can create aliases for commandlets or scripts. Navigate. Basically, PowerShell, yeah, for what I'm getting from this, it's big boy. Some programmer's going to tell me exactly what this is in the comments. It's like big boy command line. So, I could not figure out how to make this script work. This metadata combiner script work from this dude. I spent like 2 hours trying to figure out how to use it, and then I finally had this like heavens parting the heavens parted moment where the light came down and I realized, oh, it's like DOS. The reason the script isn't working is because I'm not in the folder for the script. I have to navigate there. And thankfully, because every Microsoft operating system is just built off of MS-DOS, just further and further and further up, they've kept a lot of legacy commands. So because I've used DOSBox pretty extensively, I know all the commands to navigate around and look at a directory and run a script and things like that, or run a program. So I was actually able to navigate with just, I really want, if I ever make a second channel, which I would like to do at some point because I have ideas for stuff that I want to make that just like are just don't fit anywhere on the channel. One of the things I want to do is just like the super quick and easy guide to playing games on DOSBox, because it's really not that difficult, but it's kind of intimidating if you don't know the commands. There's like 3 or 4 commands you need to know, and it's really simple. You can get a lot of this stuff set up just with like to run automatically anyway, but like I know how to do that. So excuse me, I was able to like navigate to the folder. There was like a README that had the instructions for like, here's what you write. You have to designate, this is where it's going to look for the photos and the JSON files. This is where you're going to combine. This is the folder you're going to send all that stuff to when it's combined. And this is a folder for error stuff. And you got to make folders on my desktop and type some stuff out. And all the stuff that, like, if this was like a fleshed out program, you'd have like a little window. You could click on an executable and a little window would pop up and you just click this folder, click this folder, click this folder. And then you just, point to where you wanted things to go, and then you'd hit a button and it would work. But here I have to type a bunch of stuff out. So I typed a bunch of stuff out, and then I hit enter, and like a billion lines of code starts streaming up from the bottom of PowerShell, and I just kind of watch it, and I'm like, I'm gonna get something to drink. So when I come back, I sit back down, just as it's finishing, I look at the folder that I designated as the output. And my God, it worked. It totally worked. It completely worked. It did. There were some images that the metadata was just kind of screwy on for one reason or another. And I mean, I was totally fine with that, just because like I can work with that. Like, okay, this stuff is at the top. It shouldn't really be at the top, but it's not like photos that I need specifically to be in, and this was taken in 2019, it should be down here. It's just stuff that I'm like, okay, I don't mind. It's just like a picture I downloaded that I liked or something like that, like some artwork that hey, there's some of my camera roll, I like to look at it. I don't mind that. The important thing to me was that things were basically in the correct order. And besides some kind of abnormalities, which just happens with things transferring from machine to machine to machine and metadata getting all screwy, and working with backups and things like that and cloud storage, for what it was, the amount of actual things that were not in their right order, let's say, wow, this was totally worked. Kudos to that guy. I'm gonna find what was it called, like exif? Yeah, here it was, from a guy named Matt Wilson 1024. It's called Google Photos exif, a tool to populate missing date, time, original exif metadata in Google Photos Takeout using Google's JSON metadata. Wow. Thanks, Matt. So that was a trip, but I got it all sorted out, and I now have a usable, functional camera roll where I can look at, oh, this is a thing that happened in 2014. It's in the 2014 spot. So that was this, I'm sure to a lot of you this sounds like a nightmare, and it kind of is, but there's like a part of me, I'm kind of like there's a part of me that, like, really deep down that enjoys doing this, because I'm like a sick freak like that. I'm nasty and fucked up. And there's something about me where I love troubleshooting. Like, it gives me this kind of, like, this burn, like an exercise burn when I'm done. I'm like, yeah, I fucking solved the problem, and I made the computer work. And I made it happen, and I don't know, it's like my brain latches onto problems like this, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking figure this out. Oh, that just feels so cool. And especially if I can learn something, like, I've never used PowerShell before, never like downloaded weird package manager stuff from the internet through PowerShell, and all that stuff was safe, so don't worry. It was just stuff that, like, you needed to download, that it said it was gonna through the official Yarn website. Like, oh, you gotta download this thing through the command line and stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. If I can, like, oh, I've done something I've never done before, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have a novel experience like that. Some people go skydiving. I tinker around in Windows PowerShell to correct the metadata on photos from a Google Photos backup for 3 hours. That's what makes me a hero.